So speak life to the day's darkest night. Speak life when the sun won't shine and you don't know why. Look into the eyes of the broken hearted. Watch them come alive as soon as you speak. You speak love, you speak. You speak life.
You hear all the time, man, our culture, I just don't know what's wrong with us. Our culture's going the wrong direction. Everything seems like it's falling apart. I can't believe how society is today. I can't believe how people act and people do. And so I said, well, I want to deal with this. And so we said we're going to confront our culture. Now, with Obama's fixing to go out of being president, and you've got Hillary coming to compete for the presidency, and she's competing with Trump, and many of us are looking and saying, man, Trump's going to save us. Others are saying, Hillary's going to save us. And I told you the very start of this series, Trump's not going to save this nation, and Hillary's not going to save this nation. Neither one of them are. It starts with us. And that's where it's going to start. If you want to change your culture, if you want to change your community, if you want to see a nation change, it doesn't start with a president. It doesn't start with a governor. It's going to start with us. Amen. And so we said we're going to confront our culture and we're going to deal with some things. So last week, if you remember, we talked about confronting media. Facebook, TV, Instagram, and all that stuff. We dealt with all that last week. Today I want to talk to you about something totally different. And that's materialism. I want to talk to you about how to escape the trap of materialism. And how do you do that? In a nation that we're in right now, how do we escape the trap of materialism? I mean, you think about it. When we talk about materialism and this trap that our nation has us in, that between Christmas and birthdays, and Valentine's Day, and Easter, because Easter, now is all about the baskets, and what are we going to get our kids, and every other holiday that we buy stuff for each other. How in the world are we going to escape this trap of materialism? Of always wanting more, and always wanting to get more. It seems like as a nation, we're always consuming, aren't we? It's consume, consume, consume. Matter of fact, Time Magazine said this. Time Magazine said that the average American spends $1,300 for every $1,000 they earn. Something's wrong with that picture, isn't there? That the average American spends $1,300 for every $1,000 they earn. And what's happening now is the problem's catching up with us. That it seems like we've overspent for decades. Not just the 2000s, but 90s. It seems like we've overspent. And so now as a nation, and we're seeing nations all over the world, nations are collapsing. The economy is collapsing because of overspending. Wow. What do you call it when the output exceeds the input? What do you call it when the output exceeds the input? Bodybuilders, they call it overwork. Electricians, they call it overload. Bankers call it overdraft. Politicians call it, what problem? I don't see a problem. I don't know what's wrong with us spending more money that's coming in. There's no problem. We'll just kick the can down the road and we'll have it another day. If there's one single word that can summarize America's hopes, I believe that word is more. That as Americans, we just want more. We want more money. We want more success. We want more luxuries. We want more gizmos. We're chasing after that next raise all the time. We're chasing after that house that is bigger, even though the house that we have is fine. Even though the house that we have is wonderful, we're chasing after a larger house. And, you know, man, I want a larger house. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, this is where I remember things changing. Now, I'm 44 years old. Fixing to be 45. Where I remember things changing were in the 80s. In the 80s, it seemed like that all of a sudden, you had to go get the nicer stuff. The more expensive stuff. It was kind of like you wore it as a badge. And look, I spent $700 on this purse. You know, I could have bought this car for $5,000, but I went and bought this $30,000 car, and this was in the 80s. And it was all about money in the 80s, and it seemed like it carried through the 80s to the 90s, and now even to the 2000s that this is carried on, is what it seems like. You see, lifestyle, defined as the sum total of things that one bought, is what we're saying. That's how we're defining our lifestyles, by the things that we bought. Is the way many of us are defining lifestyle. And so, listen to what Proverbs 27 says. Proverbs 27 verse 10 says this. It says, human desires are like the world of the dead. There is always room for more. Human desires are like the world of the dead. There's always room for more. Let me ask you a question. Why do I always want more? Why do you always want more? What is the motive to always keep spending myself into debt? Why do we always keep spending ourselves into debt? What is the motive to never be satisfied with what I have? That I'm never satisfied with. What is the motive to keep wanting more and more and more and more? What is that motive? I believe there's 3 misconceptions that we have as our culture that we have. And so I want to hit these for you real quick. I want to give you these 3 misconceptions, and then we're going to talk about how to fix it. The first misconception, if you're taking notes, the first misconception is this: having more things will make me more happy. That we believe if we have more things, it will make us more happy. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this or not, Hyundai. How many of you, do you guys drive a Hyundai? Nobody in here drives a Hyundai. Okay, anyways, Hyundai's a good car. But Hyundai has an ad that literally says that you can buy happiness. That if you buy a Hyundai, you're going to be happy. And so if that, if what we read is true and whatever's printed on paper is true, guess what? You can go right down to the middle of Gainesville, Georgia, and you can buy happiness. It's only going to cost you $20,000, $30,000. And you can buy happiness right down there in the middle of Gainesville. And the fact is, that's true. The fact is, it's true. Things can bring happiness. Stuff can bring happiness. Here's the problem, though. The problem is, it's only temporary. That you can buy something. How many of you remember when you were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old? And maybe some of you are still in this phase. But you'd buy a car and you'd be happy. You'd take that car, you'd show it to everybody. You said, check out my car, man. And everybody ooh and ah over it, and they want to ride with you. But all of a sudden, after a while, it's just a car. Nobody cared anything about riding with you anymore. The new smell was gone. Now it smells like sweat and coffee and whatever. And they're like, I don't want to ride in your car no more. You see, the new is worn off. And so the excitement is not there anymore. And so here's the thing. Why is it that when you get something new and you're excited about it, why does it after a while change and it no longer brings you happiness? Here's the reason. Things don't change. People do. So when you buy something, it's not going to change. But you're going to change. You're going to continue to change. We continue to change. I'm not the same as I was when I was 18 years old. Of course, I don't look the same, but even if I don't look the same, I don't think the same, I don't act the same, I have changed. So I cannot buy things and say, well, this is going to bring me happiness forever. The more and more stuff I get, it's not going to bring me that happiness. Matter of fact, Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10 and 11 says this. It says, he who loves money shall never have enough. You love money? You're never going to have enough. You see, all the stuff that we get more and more and more, it's never going to be enough. If you remember what you got last year for Christmas, most of you probably can't. I don't remember what I got. But if you do, let me tell you this, I bet you this year you're looking for something more. You're like, last year was great, but this year's going to be better. I'm going to get more stuff. I'm going to get bigger stuff. Right? We always want more. And Ecclesiastes 5 says, he says, he who loves shall never have enough. The foolishness of thinking that wealth brings happiness. The more you have, the more you spend. Andy Rooney said this. Andy Rooney says, having enough is nowhere near as fun as I thought it was, as I thought it was going to be when I didn't have anything. He said, I'll read it to you again. Having enough is nowhere near as much fun as I thought it was going to be when I didn't have anything. Boy, remember those times when you didn't have anything? And you're thinking, if I can just get a little bit more. If I can just get a little bit more, man, I'm going to be happy. Now that you've got everything you want, you're not happy. And you're like, wait a minute, what's the problem? I've got everything. I got the big house, I got the nice car, I got the boat, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm not happy. Why? You've got it all the way that you pictured it 20 years ago. I pictured I was going to be skiing. I was going to do... We're not happy. Why is that? Why is the second misconception we have, if you're taking those second things, having more things will make me more important. How do you believe that? Well, the more stuff I have, the more important I'm going to be. Do we believe that? Because we find ourselves going out and competing. That if I want to be really important, I've got to have a lot of stuff. I've got to have a lot of nice stuff. You know, if I want to be real important. If I don't want to be real important, I just have a little bit. And so what happens is that we're basing our value of who we are. It determines the value of the stuff we have. So if we have valuable stuff, we say we're valuable. There's value to me. But if I don't have anything and I have very little, then I must be worth just very little because I don't have a lot of stuff. And so since I want to be liked, since I want to be respected, I got to go out and I got to buy the nicer things. I got to have lots of stuff. But can I tell you something? Quit trying to keep up with the Joneses. Because guess what the Joneses just did? They just refinanced. You're not going to be able to keep up with them. The Joneses are going to refinance every 4 or 5 years, and they're going to take everything and refinance. It's a losing battle. So having more things will not make you important, is what we find out. Matter of fact, Luke chapter 12, verse 15 says, be on your guard against greed in any shape or form. For man's real life is no way depends on the number of his possessions. Don't confuse your net worth with your self-worth. Did you get that? Don't confuse your net worth with your self-worth. A lot of us are looking and saying, well, I'm not worth anything because I don't have a big fancy house and I don't have the fancy car and I don't have all that. You don't compare your net worth with your self-worth. Your self-worth is totally different. You can have nothing and still be worth. Or you can have nothing and you are worth more than any possession you could ever have. Or more than any possession anybody has. So don't confuse your self-worth with your net worth. Say, well, this is what I'm worth. Matter of fact, if you notice, he says, be on your guard. Can I challenge you to do something? And that is continually evaluate yourself. Continually evaluate and ask yourself this question. Am I expecting more things to make me happy? Am I looking for stuff to make me happy? Am I expecting more things to make me more important? if that's why you're buying the things that you're doing, you need to do a check and say, well, wait a minute, that's not right. Third thing, misconception we have is having more things will make me more secure. The more things I have, have you ever heard this statement? If I can just get financially independent, everything's going to be okay. If I can just get enough money where I don't have to depend on anybody else, everything's going to be okay. But here, let me tell you this. The more stuff you have, the more you have to worry. Did you know that? The more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to worry about. The more stuff you have, the more time and energy it takes to maintain it. So, see, if we're going out getting all this stuff, we got to maintain this stuff. And here's something else I've learned. The more stuff you have, the more valuable your stuff is, the more insurance you got to pay. Because you're like, I got to insure that, man. That's worth a small fortune. I can't let something happen to that. I got to get insurance on it. So we find ourselves that all these things start costing us. I don't know if you know this or not, but I don't worry about the barnacles on my yacht at all. Did you know that? The reason I don't worry about the barnacles on my yacht is because I don't have a yacht. So I don't have to worry about it. Let me tell you something else I don't worry about. I don't worry about the stock market. Some of you guys, you get up in the morning and before you even drink your coffee, you're like, okay, let me see what my stock did. And we're consumed with the stock. Now, that may be fine for some of you guys, that you're in the stock market, and that's great. Me, I don't want to worry about that. I don't get up each morning and worry about the stock market. And let me tell you something else. I never worry about thieves stealing Christy's mink coat. Because she don't have one. Then she may say, I'd like people to worry about that. But I don't have to worry about anybody breaking in and stealing her mink coat. Because she don't have it. You see, when you have all of this stuff, man, you have to worry about it. And so the less you have, the less you have to worry. So for some of you, like, I don't have nothing. And you kick back and say, it's a good day, praise the Lord. Stress-free living, I don't have anything. It's like I told somebody that they broke in our car, they felt so bad they brought us money back. Those poor people, they didn't have nothing. I told you that you know, when they stole my trailer from down here, they returned it. They just didn't return it to here, but they took it to another place and stole another trailer and left my trailer. They're like, man, this thing's so pitiful. Police called me up and says, hey, we found your trailer. Come get it. They dropped yours off at a new place and stole a new one. And so we don't have to worry about stuff. They're not going to steal our stuff. They look and say, that's junk. The less you have, the less you have to worry about. You don't have to pay insurance on these things. This is what Proverbs says. Proverbs 18:11 says this. Says, the rich man thinks of his wealth as an emerged defense, a high wall of safety. What a dreamer, is what he says. Proverbs 23 verse 4 says this. Says, be wise enough not to wear yourself out trying to get rich. Your money can be gone in a flash. Isn't that true? Do we know people, man, where they had all the money in the world and the next thing they know it's gone? See, the real truth about security, if you're looking for security, is not in possessions. You can have everything in the world, and in a flash, it can be gone. If you want security, you don't put it in cars, you don't put it in money, you don't put it in houses, you don't put it in gold, silver, or anything else. The only place you're going to find security, true security, that nobody can take away, is if you put your hope and your trust in God. It's the only place you're going to find it. You can chase after everything, and it can be gone. But Jesus, the Bible says that no man can pluck you out of my hand. That's the only place you're going to find true security. But so many of us are looking for it in different places. Job said this, Job 31, 24 and 28 says, if I put my trust in money, if my happiness depends on wealth, it would mean that I have denied the God of heavens. He said, what he's saying right here is if I trust money, and I trust happiness, and that depends on everything, he says, I've denied God. What he's saying right here, he says, if I'm putting my trust in wealth, and I'm putting my trust in money to have happiness, he's saying you might as well be an atheist. Because he's saying you don't trust God. You're trusting your talents, your abilities, your money, your wealth, is what he's saying. If you're trusting your career, he's saying, I'm putting all my trust in my career to give me happiness. I'm putting all my trust in my paycheck to bring me happiness. I'm putting whatever you put in that spot right there. When you say, I'm putting my trust in blank to bring me happiness. If you put in your trust in a job, so if you put in your trust in career, in money, in paycheck, can I tell you something? That is your God. That's who your God is. Because that's what you're looking to bring you happiness and security. But when you put your trust in God, and you say, God, I trust you to give me happiness, then God's your God. And the mistake that many of us have made is we've put our trust for happiness in things. And those things can be a husband. Those things can be a wife. It can be a house. It can be a car. It can be whatever. For you guys down here on the front row that are back in school, my trust is popularity. It's being liked. Let me just stop right there. If you are a teenager and you need to be in Jessica's class on Sunday mornings for Sunday school, she was teaching this morning how to get a boyfriend.
What's to look for?
Do what?
What to look for?
Yeah, I was going to get there. It just sounded better, got everybody's attention when I said, she's teaching how to get a boyfriend, how to get a girlfriend. Yeah, see, I was going to have your class full of teenagers next Sunday, but you messed it all up. But no, what she's really teaching is what you look for in to have a boyfriend. But here's the thing, let me tell you this, and I'm sure she's already explained this, but if you're looking for that boy or that girl to give you happiness, you're not going to be happy. And what you're doing is you're saying, I'm trusting this guy or this girl to give me happiness, which means you're making them your God. Don't put your hope and your trust and your faith in a boy or a girl. Put your hope, faith, and trust in God. And if you'll chase after God, He'll send you the right guy or the right girl at the right time. Sorry, I preached your lesson. But come back Sunday for Sunday school, Jessica will finish it for you. So with that being said, we ask the question, why do we always want more? And we find out that we think that more things will make us happy, that more things will make us important, and more things will make us secure. So how do I live in this computer-driven culture, or not computer-driven, consumer-driven culture? How do we live in this? How do we break free from this? The first thing is this: resist comparing what I have with others. Alex, roll this video for me.
Hey guys, I got you each a gift.
No way, Jesus, why?
Well, I just love you guys, so I wanted to get you something.
So nice.
Laura, you first.
Oh, this is so exciting. Oh, will you look at this, a little 8-ounce can of Coke? This is perfect for me.
I looked everywhere to find a gift for you, and this just seemed to fit.
I love it.
Drew? Yeah, your turn.
All right. No way, Jesus. Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
20 ounces of Coke? Yeah, baby. Woo. This is awesome. Oh, Jesus, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Laura, we got to go show Richard our gifts. Come on.
Hey, Laura, is there a problem?
No. I mean, well, yeah, kind of, it's just that every time you give people gifts, you always give everyone else more than you give me.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, I open my gift and, oh, cute, 8 ounces, and then Drew opens his gift and, hello, 20 ounces.
Oh, I know what you mean. Well, that gift is for Drew.
Well, that's what I want. Go get it for me.
Okay, if that's what you want.
Yeah. I got a liter! I know, it's 1 liter of God's sweet goodness. Jesus gave it to me. He did? Yes. Okay, you know what? You're gonna meet somebody with a bigger bottle and you are gonna be so mad.
Laura, check it out! I got an upgrade, Coke 3.0.
That is awesome!
No!
Well, isn't that just great?
Yeah! Hey, Jesus, you rock!
Yeah,
Thanks,
what
Drew.
is wrong with you? Why are you holding back your best from me?
I gave you my best. Don't you see what's happening here? You're letting everyone else's gifts steal your joy.
No, Jesus, you are stealing my joy by giving everyone else more than you give me.
Laura, I picked this gift out for you. That's what I wanted you to see.
I don't care.
Until you can look past this, all you're going to see is a can of Coke.
How often, how many times are we comparing what we have to everybody else? And when we find ourselves comparing what we have to other people, then we get mad. We become jealous because somebody else has more than we do. Just like this video, this is a funny little video over an 8-ounce bottle of Coke, and somebody's got a 20 ounce, somebody's got a 1 liter. But let's bring it home to reality. That we look at other people's stuff and we find ourselves jealous and mad because they have more than us. That they have the nicer house, they have the nicer car, they have this, they have that, and we find ourselves jealous about it. And I think it's so true what the video said. That until you can look past this bottle of Coke, that's all you're going to have. Because the gifts that you have, the things that you have, are gifts that God has given you. And God knows exactly what you need. And God knows exactly what you can handle. See, if God was to give you that bigger house and give you the car and the boat and everything else, some of us could not handle it. We'd be running off and doing all kinds of crazy things. So some of us cannot handle it. And that is one of the reasons that so many of us have not received it. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 says this. It says, we do not dare classify or compare ourselves. It is not wise. In other words, he's saying it's dumb to compare yourself to other people. God made you unique. He made you who you are. He's given you those gifts. And if you compare to other people's gifts, what happens is you start coveting it. You start wanting it. What you have is no longer satisfactory anymore. You want more. You want this. You want that. And they did a study in Indiana. And in this study, they discovered that they did the high percentage of women. They interviewed them and they said, why do you work a job? Is what they asked these women. And these were women that did not need to work a job. And the high percentage of, this is the shocker, a high percentage of these women, they didn't need to work a job. They could stay at home and they wanted to stay at home. But they said, the reason that I work a job, and this is their answer, so they could buy things that would make them the envy of others. They were buying stuff to impress people they don't like, that they'll never see. How many of us do that? You know, we buy stuff we don't even want to impress people that we don't even like, and you know, to impress people that we probably won't ever see again, just to make them envious of us. What if we quit chasing after that? What if we quit running after trying to impress other people? Because here's the thing, and I've learned this the hard way. If you try to keep up with Apple, you'll go broke. How many of you remember the iPhone original? Had to go out and buy an iPhone, right? Well, they did pretty good for a while. They're like, okay, every 2, 3, 4 years they're going to upgrade this. I can live with that. Heck no, now it's about every 6 months. The iPhone 4, the iPhone 4.5, the iPhone 5, the iPhone C, the iPhone 5S, iPhones, and it's about every 6 months. And if we try to keep up with that, man, it'll break us. And here's the thing, as soon as I bought my iPhone 6, the iPhone 6S was out, is what it seemed like. You know, it's the same thing with a car. As soon as you buy a car, then the new model's right out. It's got another perk. It's got the LED lights instead of the bulbs. So I got to go change cars because I got to have the LED lights. You will go broke trying to impress people, chasing after all of these things. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9 says, when we long to be rich, we are prey to temptation. We get trapped into all sorts of foolish and dangerous ambitions and eventually plunge into ruins. Listen, money's neither good nor bad. Money's neutral. Okay? It's what you do with it. It's how you spend it. Some of the wealthiest people in the Bible, they were rich, they were wealthy. But it's what you do with your money is what the problem becomes. It's kind of like in a zoo. Do you know how they catch monkeys in a zoo? Anybody know how let me tell you this. I don't see anybody shaking their head yes. How they catch a monkey in a zoo, they take a coconut. They drill out the coconut, they pull everything out of the coconut, they put a chain on the coconut, and they put it to a tree. Now, the monkey will take, and what they'll do is they'll put candy in the coconut. And so the monkey will take his hand and stick it in the coconut and grab the candy. But the problem is that monkey, when he grabs the candy, can't pull his hand out. So the monkey's trapped. And here's the thing. A monkey's not smart enough to let go of the candy and pull his hand out. It's got its candy. I got the candy. I can't get my hand out. This is a modern day parable for us. We put our hand in so many things, and next thing we know, we're grabbing all these things, and we're caught. We find ourselves so far in debt, so far having to go work and having to do things. Can I tell you a test for you? If God tells you to give away that thing you have your hand wrapped around, and you can't do it, you're trapped. If God tells you to give it away and you can't do it, it means you're trapped. Whether that's because of debt, whether that's because you love it so much, I love this so much, I'm not letting go of it. You have been trapped by materialism because we're not willing to let go of it. What is it that you have your hands wrapped around that God would tell you to let go of, and you're like, no? Is it your bank account? Is it that nice guitar that Austin has up here? Austin, God's telling you to give me that. Wow. just kidding for all y'all. You know what? Just kidding. God didn't tell me that Austin would give me that. But what is it that you have, whether it's a bank, a car, a guitar, whatever that may be, that you're not willing to give up? Because have you ever seen anybody change because of a lot of money? Have you ever known anybody that was poor and all of a sudden they come in a lot of money and when they do, they change? It's kind of like the guy who calls his wife up. He says, honey, he says, we just won the lottery. He says, we won $40 million. And the wife's like, great, I'm so excited. And the husband says, start packing. And she says, what do I pack? She said, do I pack cold clothes or do I pack warm clothes? She goes, I don't care what you pack, just be out of the house before I get home. Money changes us, doesn't it? That we find ourselves, when we have all this money, that it can change us. And so, how do we keep from getting caught in this materialism, this trap? How do we break free from it? Rejoice in what we do have. Rejoice in what you do have. Ecclesiastes 6:9 says this. It says, it is better to be satisfied with what you have than to always be wanting something else. can you be satisfied with what you have? I mean, let me ask you a question. That $250,000 house you're living in, but you're wanting to sell it and buy that $500,000 house? Is that $500,000 house going to bring you twice as much happiness? I heard somebody say, no way. It's going to bring you twice as much debt. Stress. Do you see my point? If all we need is the $250,000 house, why can't we be content with that? Instead of saying, I've got to have a bigger house. I've got to have a 6-car garage. I got 2 cars. I got to have 14 bedrooms. There's 3, 4 of us in a house. I got to have 2 kitchens and 7 bathrooms. Why can't we be content with what we have? Hebrews says this, Hebrews 13 verse 5 says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. That's what Hebrews says. Only problem is contentment's not natural, is it? It's something we have to work at. Many of you guys know Christy, hallelujah, praise the Lord Jesus, has 4 more months. She graduates in 4 months. And she had to check me the other day. She goes, you've already got all my money spent. She says, I haven't even graduated yet. And you've already talked about you want a boat, you want this, you want that, you want a new car. And it's like, oh, baby, I was just joking about all that stuff. I was just playing. But it's so easy. It's not easy to be content with what you have. When we get a raise at work, what do? We're like, oh, I got another $25 a week. Means I can get this. I can go get that. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to be content with this. I'm going to put this back, and I don't have to spend this money. It's going to free me up to be able to do other things. It's going to free me up to be a blessing to other people. That I've got $25 extra a week that I can go and I can bless other people and make a difference in other people's life. But if we're not careful, what we find is I got $25 extra a week. I can go out to eat more. I can go do this. I can go do that. But I'm challenging you to say, hey, let's be content with what we have. Keep your eyes free from the love of money. Is what I'm challenging you to do. And the last thing is this, as we wrap up, is refocus on the permanent values. Not the temporary ones, but the permanent ones. Colossians 3 verse 2 says this, says, set your mind on the things above, not on earthly things. If you want to break free from this trap of materialism, refocus on permanent values. Because do you really own anything? Think about it. What do you own? When you die, are you going to take it with you? So really, everything you have has been loaned to you for 60, 70 years. And then after 60, 70 years, you're going to be gone. And there's something that somebody else owned 60, 70 years ago that you've had for 60, 70 years, now you're going to be gone. It's going to be somebody else's stuff for 60, 70 years. Don't be spending it. I heard you. That was my mom down there. She's talking about spending my inheritance. She said she's embarrassed. She also learned how to whisper in a sawmill. So my point is, it's just yours for temporarily, and then it's going to be gone. You're going to be gone. And it's kind of like, the bumper sticker. We've all seen the bumper sticker that says, whoever has the most toys, and when they die wins. The truth is, whoever has the most toys, when he dies, he dies. And he don't get to take the toys with him. But what about making an eternal difference? What if you started focusing on that? Matthew says this, Matthew 13:22 says, the man who hears the message but allows the cares of this world and his longing for money choke out God's word does less and less for God. Can I tell you something? And I think many of us do this. And that is never confuse making a living with making a life. I think many of us confuse making a living and making a life and confuse the two. Making a living is not making a life. I know a lot of people that have made a living but lost their kids, lost their family, and lost their dreams. And what I want you to do is not make a living, but make a life. And I don't know how many of you guys remember James Dobson. James Dobson is focused on the family. He's talking about this very thing. And this is what he says about him. He says that he's concluded, since he's at the end of his life, he says, I've concluded, this is what he says. He says, I will consider my earthly existence to have been wasted unless I can recall a loving family, consistent investment in the lives of people, and an earnest attempt to serve God who made me. That's a life. That you know what, man? I will consider my earthly existence to have been wasted unless I can recall a loving family, consistent investment in the lives of people, and an earnest attempt to serve God who made me. Is that what you want? When I read that, I said, that's what I want. Man, I want to have, when I get to the end of my life, I can look back and say, you know what? I have a loving family. I have made investments in other people's lives. And I have done my best to serve God. 3 things that really are mine and Christy's goals. Our goal is not to consume. Our goal is not to buy and to get. Our goal, number 1, is God. Number 2 is family. And you guys know that. Amen. If you've been around us most 99% of the time, if you see me, you see Christy. 99% of the time, if you see us, you see our kids. That we are together. We are pouring into them. We are investing in them. We are trying our dangest. And I know that some of y'all think they don't look like it because you hear our kids and you see our kids, but we're trying our dangest to raise them right, to get them to, even though Brack is, I don't even know what I'm going to do with him. That's our youngest. But, we're working on him. He's a work in progress. But we're trying our best to make that loving family. And here's the thing. Here's one of the things that I'll be honest with you, and I've seen, and this is one of the ways that I check it. And I told somebody the other day, I said, I'm not going to write a book on parenting until my kids get up and grown up and moved out, and then I can know if I messed up or did it right or wrong. But this is 20 years down the road, this is the way I'm going to be able to look back and say if I was able to do this. When my kids have moved out, do they come back on their own to the house to see us? Do they want to come back and spend time with us? I know that if when they've moved out and they're on their own and they're wanting to come back and spend time with us, I know that I was able to manage to create that family of love where they want to come back and hang out with mom and dad and they don't have to. We do it. We don't do it as often as we like, but there's times when we'll just drop in on mom and dad. Heck, most of the time they're gone, but they're out keeping the streets hot. And we're just, they're not here. But we do it. It's because they managed to create that. Are you creating that? Who are you investing in? Are there people that you're investing in and that you're able to make an eternal difference? Are you so strapped because of material things that you can't afford to take somebody out to eat and be able to talk and speak into their life? If you are, there's some things you need to get rid of. Find you somebody to invest in, whether it's kids, whether it's teaching a class on Wednesday nights, whether it's teaching a Sunday school class, or whatever it is, that start investing in people. And when you do that, can I tell you something? You're going to find meaning in your life. For some of you, you're going through life and you're saying, I don't have any meaning. There's no meaning in my life. Well, can I tell you, if you'll start investing in people and pouring in people, what you're going to find is that you have meaning. Because you're making a difference in other people's lives. It doesn't matter if you are a teenager or a child. Let me tell you, I overheard the other day, and we're fixing to wrap up here, but just give me just a second if that's okay. The other day, I overheard Alex, which is my oldest, carrying on a conversation with Cameron. Most of you know Cameron's gone off to North Georgia, and he's only here occasionally, but he's carrying on a conversation with Cameron. And he's talking about dipping. And Alex is talking about this guy. He said, man, he's dipping, and he's got his teeth are yellow, and he got his tooth messed up or whatever. And Cameron made a difference in Alex's life just by saying a few things. Because I've said it to him 1,000 times. He'll pay me no attention. I'm like, dude, you don't need a dip. You don't need a dip. But Cameron looked at him, took a moment, just a brief moment, and said, don't do that stuff, man. You don't need to do that. And he hasn't mentioned dipping since. Now, he hasn't dipped, but he's always thought it was cool because people did. But he hasn't mentioned it since. Cameron, don't do that. See, when you're able to just invest a little bit of time, that's just a spoken word for a brief second. Imagine if you can get to a place where you're investing an hour a week in somebody's life. What difference you can make. Find somebody to invest in. That you can invest into their life. And serve God. Chase after Him. Serve Him. And what a difference you will make. And as I wrap up, this is what Matthew chapter 6 says. It says, no one can serve two gods. This is what Matthew 6 says. It says, no one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money. And so here's my question to you. And the question is, will your lifestyle be determined by Christ, or will your lifestyle be determined by the culture? Will your lifestyle be determined by Christ, or will your lifestyle be determined by the culture? Which one? Which one is going to determine your life? We're talking about confronting our culture. I want to challenge you to make a change. Break out of this lifestyle of materialism, this trap that we're in. Say, God, I'm no longer going to serve money, but I'm going to serve you. And as you serve God, you'll find purpose. You'll find a reason to live. Let's pray. Lord, I know that there's some of us here that God, that we struggle with materialism.
To speak